Loved it.
Thanks, Donna. Lucy, what'd you drop in the chat?
It's a tie between Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey and The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Very good movies. Amber Eby, what did you drop in there?
Hey, good morning, everyone. I said The Wedding Singer because it's just absolute silliness. And we need that, right?
Yes. I was talking to Allison this morning, and I have a tie. I could not pick. It's between Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage, and I am also a huge Anne Hathaway fan. So The Devil Wears Prada is very, very high on my list. So I couldn't pick. Gone with the Wild, Mrs. Doubtfire, Tommy Boy. They're great movies, y'all. We'll keep this going for a couple more minutes. Lexi, what did you drop in the chat for us?
I don't know if you can hear me. I dropped The Dark Knight.
And are you like a fan of the whole series, or?
I am, but I'm also a huge Marvel person, so I'm more on the Marvel side of things.
I see Josh is giving you a thumbs up. Josh, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, easily. I'm a nerd, so anything superhero is on my list. Endgame is #1 for me. That's my favorite movie of all time.
Well, I appreciate you being a superhero and being so collaborative. You're on the Monday calls, you're in the community engagement working group. You're going to help co-host one of these calls coming up pretty soon. So appreciate all the energy you bring to this. Sarah, you're a fan of Speed as well. I think I saw that from, was it Stacy? Did you say that earlier?
It was Stacy.
Awesome. All right, folks, we're going to give it one more minute. The question of the day is, what is your favorite movie of all time? Sharon Fletcher, I'm going to ask you to unmute and tell us what you wrote in the chat for folks that are calling in.
I am unmuted. I am a romantic comedy fiend. Almost any romantic comedy, but the first one that came to mind was Notting Hill. I also love Up. I saw that Riley put that in there as well. I wanted to name my puppy Kevin. It got vetoed, but you know, secretly that's what I call him. And then I love A Dog's Purpose. I just love what it means, and A Journey, and Promise is coming. So I'm excited for that because it's one of my favorite authors.
This is a great list, my friends.
Mary, why are you laughing?
Sid and Nancy, and then When Harry Met Sally.
Oh,
that's
yes.
awesome, you guys.
Those are good.
Definitely, you should book in those two movies.
Yep.
All right, so it looks like we have a few more folks that have been joining in. So Laura, the question of the day, as Allison dropped in, is what is your favorite movie? As y'all are still typing those into the chat, good morning. It is 8:03 a.m. Pacific Standard Time where I am located. My name is Bobby Mann. I'm the Maddie's Human Animal Support Services Pilot Director. So honored to be co-hosting these calls with Mary, Smith, Allison, and the rest of the team from Maddie's Fund. It's a good day for me. I get to hang out with all of my friends. All of our amazing speakers are here. I'm getting movie recommendations for all of 2022. But the way that my week really gets kicked off is when I get to kick it over to my dear friend, Mary Smith, for a little bit of Monday motivation.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Allison. Eliza, you listed Big Fish. I like that movie too. That was really great. Thanks for reminding me about that. Okay, so just some business. Today is the last day to sign up for the grant giveaway for January. We're going to pick the winners tomorrow. So remember, you can register as many times as you want, and we're giving away $5,000 in some denomination to some lucky winners of this call. I see Stacy LeBaron on the call. Stacy, you're a rock star. What a great weekend of just brain information, brain food that you gave us. Thank you very much. And you're still here this morning, and you're, as far as I can tell, upright. That is excellent. Okay, couple things to remind you of. CARE is doing 4 webcasts during Black History Month, which starts tomorrow. They're going to be, their presentations will happen every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. They're also doing a webcast on February 17th. You should check that out, Amended American History. Also, My Dog is My Home will be March 1st through the 3rd. You should think about going to that. It's a virtual conference. Also, I had a chance to look at some really great research on, I guess it's Frontiers. I guess that is a journal, and it's very much open access. And the research topics are reimagining animal sheltering, support services, and community-driven sheltering methods. So far, there are 14 research articles. I'm telling you guys, if you have staff meetings and you're unsure what to be talking about, you should think about encouraging your staff to read some of these articles and then discuss them. They definitely are, I would love to say all the rage, but you should really check it out. And to all of those behind the scenes like Julie Levy and Peter Wolf and others who have created this open access platform for us non-academic types to be able to access this information, major thanks. It is really tremendous. All right, as many of you know, I'm struggling with 2022 to really embrace it, and I have yet to do that. So January has been the 13th month of 2021. But tomorrow, or probably tonight, is the Lunar New Year, and I so appreciate having another chance to start over. So I would encourage people to think about what that means. It will be the year of the tiger. And Vu Lei has an amazing blog post this morning about the year of the tiger. The tiger is all about courage and taking action. And I'd just like to remind you all that being courageous doesn't mean being fearless. It's actually sort of the opposite of that. It's taking an action even when you're most afraid. It's moving forward even when every part of you is saying, run away. But we're animal people. And what does that mean for us? Oftentimes we are courageous without even thinking about it, because we will dive head first to make a life-saving difference for the animals in our care. What I would encourage all of us to think about is, would we do the same thing for all the people in our community? Do we share those same qualities with our two-legged companions as much as we do our four-legged companions? Let's not forget that we still have a lot of work to do just in making sure that the biases we all have, the judgments we all make, aren't affecting the decisions that are going on in the organizations we have. Every single day we can start over and we can do better. Admitting the mistakes we've made, and trust me, we have all made mistakes. Yes, we have all made mistakes, but we have an opportunity to do better. The Lunar New Year, it's a chance for us to do more to safeguard the Asian community. You know, the more violence occurred in the Asian communities in 2021 than ever before. Are the things that we might be able to do to partner with, you know, senior centers and others. Maybe we all need to walk our dogs where old people hang out. And trust me, I'm an old person. I would like to feel more safe when I'm out there with my dogs. So maybe there are more things that we can be doing just to become better community members. So Bobby, I'm out with that. Thank you.
Fresh coffee, 164 of my friends, and getting dropped some good knowledge by Mary Smith on a Monday morning. I think, as I said earlier, I think things are going pretty well for me, knock on wood, today. Okay, so we're going to get into national updates in a minute, but one thing I am going to ask from folks that are on this call, if it is your first time ever being on this call, please drop who you are and where you're from in the chat. We are going to hopefully call on you a little bit later so you can unmute and introduce yourself. But we'd love to get that list going. So going into national updates, we are going to open up the floor, but we have a very special announcement from Shelters Animals Count's Executive Director, Stephanie Filer, who's going to share her screen and give us a highlight of what's going on in 2022. So over to you, Stephanie.
Great. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I'm really excited to share what Shelter Animals Count has been working on. You may have seen our announcement that we have dashboards updated for the past really 5 years now, since 2016 through the end of December. here's a quick overview of how to navigate these. So right now, we are having an issue with getting it added to our website. Our tech provider is working on that. So I'll drop the link in the chat that you can bookmark until that gets done, but it then eventually will replace the Tableau link that's currently on our site. So if you go over to this light bulb here, oops, I just clicked on something. I was trying to minimize my screen. Okay, if you go over to this light bulb here, it will give you definitions on what some of these categories mean. And right now I have it viewed on the 2021 full data set only in the organizations that are participating in that. You can toggle and filter all of these different things. You can highlight over and interact with these graphs. Everything that's on this right now is what was on our website prior. It's condensed and we're continuing to improve upon it based on feedback that we're getting from users. We have a data committee that's working on improving this. And so you'll see future releases as we go. But a couple things I wanted to point out is that when you highlight over here, you can minimize the view a little bit. So you can start to see it in years and quarters, and you can start to zoom in. So there's a lot of it that you can manipulate. I also pulled a view on another way that you can use it. So here I selected still just 2021, but I selected the state of Iowa, which was the shelter that I was at previously. So I can look at all of the organizations. Of course, it's going to do that to me. Okay, so I can look at all of the organizations that are in that state. All right. You're having a better day than me, Bobby.
No, this is amazing. I'm going to have a couple of questions for you when you're done, but thank you so much for sharing all. This is awesome.
Yes. Okay. Last one. So the other view that you can do is you can sort by state. It looks like it defaulted all my favorites. You can sort by state. You can sort by organization. So you can also look at this on how your own organization has done and get some visualizations for either your board or city council, if you have a relationship with them in government contracts. And it's really just meant to start to dive into the national data. A couple things to note, we will be updating it monthly going forward. We are definitely looking to get more feedback on this. So if you are interested in sharing feedback that you have right now, or even better, if you're interested in joining a focus group that will be having provide feedback on reports and some other things that we're working on, please send us an email. I'll drop that in the chat too. And then otherwise, yeah, play around with this and get familiar with it. We'll have it, like I said, integrated on our website soon and future iterations released, especially with outcomes, since a lot of this is focused on intake. So you'll see that coming soon. The other two things I just wanted to plug real quick are our data drive. In order to qualify to win $21,000 in grants, ends tonight at midnight. So if you haven't submitted your data, you still have time, but do it soon. And that's midnight Eastern time. And then we're actually going to be releasing a 3-year comparison report at the end of this week that looks at Q1 through Q3. And we'll be talking about that more on the Friday call. So lots ahead, and thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. Well, before, number one, I got to echo what Dr. Segerson said. Your co-pilot, your pup, is so adorable. Will you please introduce us to your dog?
This is Freedom. She's my 11-year-old, and I had my 1-year-old Sinatra was behind her, but he apparently got bored.
Well, you have this whole like light and airy vibe going in your background, and your dog just like complements that so well. So I have a question for you. This is so amazing. It is also incredibly overwhelming for me. I am not a data expert, and I look at this and it actually, in a good way, stresses me out. So if you can simplify it for folks on the call, why does it matter to compare my local data to national data? What benefit is there for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits on looking at operational programs, and especially we're going to start being able to drive it down a lot more on our future reporting, looking at region and organization type and organization size. So you can do that a little bit here now, but it's a good opportunity to see how your organization is comparing to other organizations, either in your county, which you can drill it down by, your state, multiple states in your area, or the organization as a whole. Now she sees a cat outside. So The other thing is, as we look to continue to grow.
No, don't worry. You do you let them do them. You just keep talking to us over here.
As we look to continue to grow in some of the programs that we're working on, it allows us to see our national trends on, are we making a difference in those programs? So are we able to reduce intakes? Are we able to improve outcomes? And it really shows it on a graphical view, which it is a lot of information, especially as we start to dig into it. I think you'll become more familiar. Excuse me. But yeah, so.
All right, I'm gonna let you off the hook, but if you can also, we'll talk more on Friday. Just another quick plug. Stephanie's going to be going into deep detail about all of this stuff on Friday, and we're really going to unpack some more questions. Something that I really want to get into on Friday right now, or on Friday, is also just the fear of sharing data, right? I think oftentimes people are a little nervous about getting their information out there, but I think in a time where we're really coming together as a field and we're really trying to collaborate with advocates in our community, there's never a better time than to get your data up there so we can see how we're doing. Stephanie, would you agree with that?
100%. Yep, now's the time. Submit your data by tonight so we can continue to have even better insights, and we'll continue to share it as we go.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. I'll ask you to unshare your screen, and we're going to open up the floor for other national updates. I know, Dr. Levy, you had mentioned that you had something, so maybe I'll pick on you now to get everybody else kicked off.
Thank you, Bobby. And I wanted to share with everyone that we have launched a new program supported by Maddie's Fund called Maddie's Million Pet Challenge. This is an evolution of our 8-year Million Cat Challenge program, and it has now blossomed to include dogs. And a really exciting expansion is to add to our shelter consultations that we've been doing all along with veterinary clinic consultations. What we have recognized as we go into shelters and give advice is that many of the interventions that we recommend are dependent on veterinary care, which often is not available, and especially these days in the veterinary care shortage. So we have brought in Amy St. Arnaud and Heather Camisa from Open Door Veterinary Collective, and they are going to be offering consultations on how to open and manage low-cost clinics in a way that is financially sustainable. So we're hoping then to offer consults that are community-wide, that pair up a shelter and a clinic organization at the same time, or maybe those two functions are in the same organization. So please visit our website. I will share really quickly. I don't do this very well, but I think it's there. It is Maddie's millionpetchallenge.org, and you can see that we're offering consultations for both clinics and shelters, a shelter consultation mentorship, which is training others how to do consultations to increase the pool of experts, an online learniverse of boot camps that are coach-led cohort training and on-demand training for issues around animal sheltering and welfare. And then a new, very important addition that we brought on is a section on supporting team well-being. This will be led by Jessica Dolce, and it's a way to deal with a lot of the burnout and stress that our teams are experiencing. We have quickly a really exciting event coming up to mark your calendars. It is a dog masterclass. This will be a 2-day conference on March 29th and 30th. It's free, it's both afternoons, and it is really focused intensively on the problem a lot of shelters are experiencing with having medium and large sized dogs accumulating in their shelter, having trouble finding their normal transport outcomes, and long lengths of stay that are leading to crowding and then behavior deterioration. So really hoping that you can join us. Sign up now. Space is limited in this conference. You can go to the link, which will be in the chat, and sign up to see just a wonderful collection of speakers that are coming to this conference. So with that, I invite you to enjoy our site, and hope to see you over there.
Thanks,
Dr.
Levy.
Sharing. Okay.
I appreciate it. And folks, that week, we are not going to be having a Monday call because we know that your time is incredibly valuable. And we're really going to be encouraging you to go to the Big Dog Conference. So just remember that that'll be, I believe, a Tuesday and a Wednesday, right, Dr. Levy? Perfect. All right, let's keep these going.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Amber from Maddie's Fund here again. I'm so sorry. I have the correct link to the grants giveaway that I'm dropping right now in the chat. I was too excited to hear everyone's movies, and I accidentally put the wrong one in the first time around. So the one in the chat, please use that one for the grant giveaway today. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
I also wanted to give a shout out to Stacy LeBaron. Can you tell us a little bit about how the weekend went?
Yeah, sure. As I said, I'm on the couch today, but it was awesome. I thought we had an incredible group of speakers. By the end of the weekend, we were all ready to do a field trip to Greece after having a tour of the Let's Be Smart group in Greece, looking at their sanctuary and hearing about all of the work that they do. We had some great panels. We had a great representation from CARE. Lots of some how-tos, how to socialize feral kittens, how to start a TNR program. It was a lot of fun. It was really good. Big shout out to Maddie's and Best Friends and CARE, as well as others for supporting the conference. And also thanks to Maddie for providing 60 scholarships to the conference for attendees. I think the team at Maddie's had a fun time with cat trivia.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Stacey. Yo, shout out to Maddie. Maddie is just crushing it, just funding all the things, doing all the cool stuff, making all the cool kids hang out to each other. So again, from myself, thanks to Maddie. All right, Heather, I am going to pick on you right now because 20 freaking years of one of my favorite organizations in the entire world being around. I know you shared a link to a 2-minute video, but I would be so honored if we can watch that as a collaborative and you can share your screen.
I would love to. Thank you so much. Can everybody?
It's loading. And go ahead.
Is that a yes? Is it good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Come on, folks, let's all unmute for 1 second together and let Heather and the team actually hear this clapping. So go ahead, unmute, let's hear it out. Heather and team, congratulations. The one thing I will say before we move on to our first speaker is, yes, that is beautiful. Yes, that is amazing. But what is more beautiful and more amazing is that entire organization started with one person and a laptop. Their leadership, Rebecca, had a dream of changing things for pets and people in her community, and she got to work. And guess what? 20 years later, there's 194 people celebrating their successes on a call together. So Heather, congratulations. Keep up the good work. We'll see you in 5 more years for that amazing 25th anniversary video. And also, if y'all want to know how to make videos like that, the Human Animal Support Services Project hosts a job alike group for marketing people that Heather is in. So I'll drop the link in the chat. Make sure to join. There's like 120 people. Sharon is one of the leads in there as well. It's a great way to collaborate and learn. All right. I'm taking up so much time. We got to keep it moving. I know last week we were supposed to have a very special speaker, Riley Yates. We had to push that back to this week. But as we are talking about the human-animal bond and supporting people where they are, working with the unhoused community is a critical part of the future of animal welfare. And as we often talk about trying to get positions or teach our staff how to support the unhoused community at our organization, I thought it was incredibly fascinating that Riley actually works for a people shelter and her job is all about animals. So Riley, I'm going to toss it over to you so you can tell us a little bit about your work and what you do.
Hey everybody, my name is Riley Yates. I am the Animal Welfare Coordinator here at Grace Marketplace, which is a low barrier homeless shelter in Gainesville, Florida. Let me see if I can share my screen so you can see. Let's see. Did that work?
Perfect. It was working, Riley, and then it turned off. Did we lose it? No. Did Riley just ghost us right now?
Maybe her internet.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that. I don't know how to do any of this. I'm doing my, hold on.
Wow, I just got a flashback of like my whole high school career when you just like, we were so excited and you just left.
Is it sharing now?
It looks perfect.
Okay. I'm not going to touch anything this time. I am the Animal Welfare Coordinator here at Grace. I kind of came to this position in a little weird turnaround. I didn't even know this kind of position existed. I worked on the animal shelter side. I worked for veterinarians as a tech, as an assistant, and I had the opportunity to work under a forensic veterinarian. And I absolutely fell in love with forensic veterinary medicine. I thought that that was my life calling, and I started working with veterinary forensics, and I was opened up to this whole world of co-sheltering and helping people who are going through different struggles and are at different places in their life, helping them actually keep their animals to limit or to prohibit them so they don't have to end up in a shelter or something. I saw so many people who wanted to do right by their animal. They weren't able to care for them for whatever reason. And so their only option that they felt they could do was to surrender the animal. I saw how difficult that was on the person. I saw how difficult that was on the shelter who had to then take in the animal and find a new home for it when there's already so many that don't have a home at all. So I realized that there was this opening for somebody to help those people to stay with their animal. And so when this job opening came up, I just knew that it was what I wanted to do. So I joined the Grace team as the Animal Welfare Coordinator. So my job is just to help people who are entering our emergency shelter keep their animals. So there's not a lot of places that allow animals to stay with their humans while they're sheltering. And it's a really big barrier to people entering into homelessness because they won't receive help if it means they have to give up their best friend. So being able to share that was really great. And getting to join the co-sheltering collaborative and find other like-minded people from around the United States who want to do something similar. We are 2 years into our project, so I wanted to just present where we are now and kind of what we do. Let's see. So our mission is really simple. At Grace, our mission is to end homelessness. And we do that by being the best choice for shelter and services for our guests, our volunteers, and our donors. We work with our community so that we can ensure that we are a one-stop shop. You don't have to have your documents. You don't have to have a driver's license. You don't have to have a social security card. You don't even have to know your social security number. We help anybody and everybody who walks through our doors. Let's see. So we have some milestones. Back in December of 2005 was when Project Grace started. It was a 10-year project to end homelessness in Alachua County, which is the county that we are here in Gainesville. By 2014, this actual facility opened. They had the goal of helping 100 people in their first month, and they helped 101 people on their first day. So it was super awesome. It was definitely something needed in the community. In 2020 was when they opened the co-sheltering and animal welfare, or Seesaw, as we call it, our Seesaw program. And it was created to help limit those barriers. So one of the things that they noticed when they opened our 24-hour shelter was that there were people who were really reluctant to come because they were told they couldn't bring their animals. So they created this animal-friendly shelter, and they realized really quickly that it was hard to do while also managing the people side of things. So that was why my position was created. And now here in 2022, we are just finishing our second year, but we're just getting started. So I'm really excited to share with you what we've done so far. So our program complements regular shelter services. We provide animal accommodations for people entering emergency shelter. We provide accommodations for service animals, emotional support animals, and companion animals. A lot of low barrier shelters will include service and emotional support animals. There's not a lot that will include companion animals. Some of the services we provide, we have a food and supply bank, an open air day and night use kennel, climate controlled cat room, an off leash dog park, 4 pet waste sanitation stations. We do monthly on-site veterinary care for people who may have trouble like traveling for veterinary care. We have animal friendly housing assistance. So we're a housing first homeless shelter. So we really focus on getting people housed as quickly and as safely as possible. So we help with getting, emotional support animal letters if the place where they can live doesn't necessarily allow animals, but we also work with housing providers to try and change some of those rules. And then we have counseling and education on nutrition, behavior, and responsible animal ownership. And that's just to really help with just kind of the education barrier that may exist between people who obviously love and care for their pet, and they're just not really sure how to do that in the best way. So it's been really great. Our program operates on a $77,000 budget that covers my full-time salary, our liability insurance, our equipment and supplies, and then a small budget for pet food. Most of our supplies and pet food are donated by our partner agencies. And then we had funding partners through the Wagmore Foundation and PetSmart Charities. Our partner agencies have been super great. The Humane Society, St. Francis Pet Care, and the Home Van Pet Care Project cover all of our wellness and like preventative medicine for our animals here on campus. And then Feeding Pets of the Homeless covers all of our emergency veterinary needs. So they've been really great. And then Vocal and Chewy have donated food and supplies. So they've been really great partner organizations as well. But we don't run on too much. It seems like a really big ask to have a full-time position that just is devoted to animals, especially in a place that's already pretty underfunded on the people side. But it definitely is worth it in order to get that same level of care that we give for our people to the animals that we serve as well.
I think you need a raise, Riley, just throwing that out there, just putting that energy in the air.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a map of our facility. A lot of times when I tell people what I do, they're like, oh, but you have such a huge facility. I could never do that where I live because we have such a small area. I don't actually use that much of our huge campus. You can see where our front gate is. My office is way back in the corner. I have 160 square feet. That's where we are right now. And I store medications. I store records, veterinary records. We also have a 400 square foot cat room that's climate controlled. It's in another building, but it's right next to the building that my office is in. And that is our cat room and our food bank. It's also another storage area, but those are our only two climate controlled areas here on campus that are devoted to animals. Our animals are allowed anywhere on campus that people are allowed, except for where we serve food. So in our cafe, we only allow service animals to go into the cafe. So if someone needed to go off campus and they needed a safe place for their animal to go, we have a 3,200 square foot open air dog kennel. It has right now just like wire pop-up kennels, but we have purchased the actual like prefabricated kennels that are going to go in there. So that'll be a little bit better. We'll have a nicer kind of run area for people to have their pets during the day. And it's not like a daycare or anything like that. It really is just for similar to if they had a crate for their pet in their home. So they can put their pet in there with water, blankets, so that they're set for the day. And then they have a safe place for their animal to go while they go off campus, if it's for a doctor's appointment, if they have a meeting or something, whatever they need to do. And then attached to our dog kennel, we have a roughly 3,200 square foot fenced in off-leash dog park. So that gives us a little less than 7,000 square feet of dedicated pet space, but only 560 square feet of that is actually climate controlled. So it seems like we have all this amazing space to use, but we share it with a lot of other programs. So our actual like dedicated space is a little bit smaller than I think people can see just by looking at the picture. We have some pretty great stats. Since we started in 2020, over 265 pets have received services. So that includes getting pet food, that includes supplies such as litter, collars, cages. We do a lot of like helping people get like either wire crates so that they can keep their animal in their home once they're housed, or like carrying travel cages and things like that. Our bus system doesn't allow animals unless they're in a cage. So we are working with like our bus system to try to get that changed because that's ridiculous. We have distributed over 5,000 pounds of pet food and litter. We've given over 300 supplies. We've completed 62 spay or neuter surgeries through our program. We've had 26 emergency vet visits, and we've had 15 animal welfare interventions. So that would be for the sake of the animal. We intervened and either brought in animal services or spoke with the owner about surrendering. Most of the time they're understanding that they want to put the animal first too, and they understand. But 35 pet owners have ended their homelessness since we started, and 97% of them have remained housed a year later. So that's super great. It's higher than our regular statistics. We have around 80% that remain housed in our general population, but our animal owners, they really see the the benefit of working really hard and staying there so they can stay with their animal. And it's a really great motivator for them to get housed and stay housed, because it is stressful being here with a pet. It's definitely not an easy place to live, but when it's the only option between that and leaving your best friend, it's definitely the better option for most. So the Animal Welfare Coordinator, or AWC, that's my job. I'm responsible for coordinating all of our animal services, providing oversight on the animal welfare, and ensuring the health and safety of our staff, guests, and visitors. That includes making sure animals are vaccinated, making sure that they are safe and don't display any dangerous behaviors and things like that, managing those as they come forward. One of our directors had this nice quote to say about our program, that running several other programs and managing the people side of things, having a person solely focused on animal interactions and management of all services related has been huge for our organization in order to be able to provide a higher level of care to our guests and animals. It's been a crucial part of our organization, and it removes the last part of the 3 highest barriers to entering shelter: people, pets, and property. So here at Grace, we do support all 3 of those. So we allow people to come in with their partners. We do have a co-ed dorm, and then we allow people to stay with their pets the entire time that they're here, and we have a place where they can store their property safely. And then this is my actual official headshot for work, and it's featuring one of our former Seesaw residents who's now housed. His name is Tiger, and he comes back and visits. He was raised from a little kitten in a tent, so he is very socialized with people, and he walks on a leash. He sits on your shoulder. I've seen him sit on his owner's shoulder while he rode a bike. I'm like, this is wild. I've never seen a cat do this, but he just, hangs out, tags along. He's a great little friend, and I'm so happy that he's, housed, living his best life, and gets to stay with his owner. So all of the animals that are here are registered through myself. They must be spayed or neutered. If they aren't spayed or neutered, we arrange that with one of our community partners. But guests are responsible for taking care of those animals, and we do have expectations for that. Includes keeping access to fresh food and water, keeping them free of fleas and other pests. We do provide the preventative medicine for fleas and heartworms and ticks and that sort of thing through our community partners. We require that they're cleaned up after, physically exercised and socialized, kept current with any required vaccines. And then we require respect of the animal as well, because that's a huge one. If guests are unable to meet any or all of these expectations, I make a reasonable effort to provide support in these areas, because we understand that we're meeting people where they're at. And sometimes it is just, working with them on getting them to the point where they can do it by themselves. So we're here to support them through all of that. And then these are some other Seesaw residents that we have. For expectation violations, so sometimes the rules aren't followed. If they aren't, our first offense is just a verbal warning. Any one of our staff members can make this verbal warning, and we post it on our reporting system just so that everybody knows that they received that verbal warning, what the offense was. The second time, we have a review of our expectations with me, so I just kind of talk them through what the violation was. So it's like, hey, one of our staff members a couple weeks ago saw that you didn't pick up your pet's waste while they were on a walk. Was it the poop bags were out? Do you need more? Is there something else that we can do to help you? So just kind of seeing if there was a reason why that expectation wasn't met. And then for third or more violations that are non-violent, we ask the animal to leave for the day. Individuals who are asked to take their pets off campus are always allowed to return and receive services without the animal. We'll never tell them no, your dog did something wrong, so now it doesn't get to eat. That's not fair to anybody. So we always allow people to come back in and receive services without the animal anytime that they need to. And staff members have the discretion to ask someone to leave if the animal poses a direct threat to safety or health and it can't be resolved by reasonable modification. So we have basket muzzles that we've put on animals so that they can stay with their owners as long as possible. We consider that a reasonable modification for aggression. If that doesn't work, because I have seen, some basket muzzles do a lot and not everything. So we do occasionally have some times where that it cannot be easily resolved. And so the animal is asked to leave campus. If the animal is disruptive and interfering with the program and the participant doesn't take effective action to control it, this could be if they're in the dorm and the animal just won't stop barking, and the owner's just completely ignoring it, puts on their headphones and just doesn't do anything. That would be a violation of our expectations. And then if the animal creates an unsanitary condition, so if they're not cleaning up after their animal, not walking their animal, that definitely can be a violation. All violent offenses are reported to our local animal services, and the animal is placed on a 1-year ban from returning to our campus. This can be taken back. So we have a review process for if somebody has, extenuating circumstances, so the animal bit someone, but it was while they were in pain, then obviously we would evaluate that and be able to lift that ban if that was, once we got the animal taken care of, if they're, normally friendly and kind and it's not a problem, then we can lift that ban. But I sit on any of those ban removal meetings and things like that to kind of stay from the animal aspect. And we work with the owner to try to make that work as best we can. If for whatever reason, again, the person's asked to leave campus, they're always welcome to receive services without their animal. So it doesn't matter if the animal is on a 1-year ban, doesn't ban the animal from receiving services, receiving food, receiving, collars, leashes, harnesses, dog beds, those kind of things. If we have them, we'll still definitely share them with the owners. We just can't have the animal on campus for safety reasons. And that is my contact information in case anyone has any questions or anything else that they would like to discuss. If you, I'm happy to share any of our, documentation or anything that we have. Yeah, I think we're gonna open the floor up to some questions.
Let's do it. Riley, if you please unshare your screen and take a look at that chat, because I don't think I've ever seen animal welfare folks be so excited about seeing a presentation from someone outside of animal welfare. So yeah, I see that little hand clap reaction. If other folks really enjoyed this, we'd love for you to use your reactions as well. But looks like there are a few questions. So Brandy, I'm going to come to you first, and we are going to audible a little bit at the end of this call. So I'll come back to that. So Riley, don't feel rushed. I want to make sure people have time to answer their questions. So,
hey Riley, great presentation. We love what you're doing. I was just wondering how you handle individuals that are coming into your facility that absolutely refuse to have their pets sterilized.
Yeah, that is a big issue that can arise, especially in this population. Particularly, animals can be seen breeding as like a money-making venture, and so some people may be more reluctant to sterilize their animal because they have the intent of breeding their animal. A lot of times education goes a long way, explaining to them some of the health risks that can exist when you don't sterilize your animal, behavior modifications that can result from not sterilizing your animal. But ultimately it is their decision and they have full autonomy to make that decision. They just cannot participate in our program. So if they want to go through our services to receive veterinary care, then they cannot, they have to agree that their animal would be sterilized. If we would still do food, supplies and emergency care as needed, but all of our other services are restricted until they agree to have their animal sterilized.
Thank you for that information.
Thanks. Jesse, let's go over to you for your question.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much. It's really amazing to hear. And one of the things that struck me as I'm thinking about that transition from either individually housed moving into this environment or unhoused and moving into this environment is not only a lot of change for people, but also for the animals. So I was wondering if there were any sort of common behavior themes from animals moving from one environment to an environment where maybe there's more people or other animals around that would be good for other groups thinking about this to know in advance in terms of what behavior support might I need to see or what might pop up in terms of issues with animal behavior, either for cats or for dogs.
Yeah, so our cats are kept in a separate room. It does have 2 doors in between the outside and the room that the cats are in. And then they have individual cages where they can stay by themselves. We drape over a blanket, give them some privacy so that they don't have to interact with the cats beside them. And then just keeping, dogs out of our cat room goes a long way for the interspecies. But for our animals, we recommend that our guests keep their animals 10 feet away from other animals at all times, unless they have like established a relationship. Some of them, they've raised their dogs together. They're best friends. Their tents have been next to each other since they got them, that sort of thing. So they go to the dog park together and that sort of thing. But for stranger dogs that they don't necessarily know, or sometimes when we have cats like Tiger who are, out on a leash or something, we just recommend that owners stay 10 feet away. And then animals have to be leashed in their caretaker's control at all times when they're not, out on the dog park or something. And if they are, they have to be they have to be watched the whole time that they're at the dog park. You can't just put them in there and walk away. So we don't have a ton of the, behavioral issues between animals, mostly because we just keep them separate as a, safety precaution.
Thank you, Riley. I see Dr. Levy's question at the bottom, so we'll just go there about volunteers. Does your organization accept volunteers, and what are some of the tasks available?
Yeah, so our organization accepts volunteers for every aspect. We have volunteers all the way from on the grounds helping hand out supplies to people to working with our marketing team and things like that on fundraising events. In my department specifically, I am the only one who does what I do. So when I have volunteers, I put them to work. We do a lot of, inventorying the supplies and medicines and things like that we have. So it's easier to distribute it out. And that's what we're really focusing on right now. But we do have, volunteers that come in and just hang out in our cat room all day, socialize with our cats or spend some time at the dog park with our dogs so that guests, can have some time to themselves. Maybe they want to go take a long shower or something like that. And so if we have somebody available to, sit with their dog at the dog park while they go and have meetings with their, social workers or whatever they're doing, then it's really great. And it helps keep those animals entertained. They're not just in the kennel when their owner's gone.
Thanks. And as you were having the discussion just about the behavior of pets, I looked at the screen and I saw so many of, the people I look up to in the behavior world, my behavior gurus like Dr. Carly, I saw Dr. Segerson. So I think it would actually be fun after this call to maybe unpack some of that behavior and have some deeper discussions on just how you're handling it, how you're seeing it, how you're interpreting it. So if you're up for that, Dr. Carly, if you think that's a good idea, would you give me a thumbs up? Love it. All right, Dr. Biana, I saw you had a question too. So let's go to you. We're going to have time for 2 more questions before we move on.
Perfect. Hi, Riley. I am so excited to hear your presentation, and oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by the work you're doing. I'm a shelter medicine resident at the ASPCA, and I have a particular interest in pet-friendly homeless shelters and supporting the pets of those that are vulnerably housed. And I am starting to work with a couple shelters on sort of transitioning into a co-sheltering model, and I'd love to hear if you have, I don't know, any insight in terms of what that transition looked like for your shelter particularly. I know it sounds like you weren't quite there at the initiation period, but I know you've been there from the start of this actual program. But just, I don't know if you know some of the discussions that were being had beforehand. I'd love to hear that. And also if there was any pushback from people within the organization or within the community.
Yeah, so we had outside of our actual gates on our actual campus, what we called Dignity Village, and it was a tent community of individuals who chose on their own that they did not want to enter into emergency sheltering, but they still were willing to, work with our housing providers, work with our team and everything. And there were a lot of people who the reason that they wanted to stay in Dignity Village was because they had pets. And so they took that as the basis for our program. And they housed everybody who was in Dignity Village with a pet. And that was really where the start of this happened, because once they really spent the time to focus on housing individuals who had pets, they realized what a big barrier it was for so many people. And they were like, how do we keep people from their only option is to live in a tent outside of our shelter instead of just inviting them in to, receive services together. So that's when they really started looking into the co-sheltering model. And that's when this program was officially born. And so there really wasn't a lot of pushback from the organization. They had really recognized the need for it. And that was kind of how it became what it is. And the community has been so great. The St. Francis Pet Care has been taking care of the pets in this community before this program was started. So they kind of just merged their preventative wellness care with that community. And now they just do that preventative care here. And then they have a day at their downtown clinic where they allow people to come in and receive free veterinary care by appointment if they qualify. And one of the ways to qualify is coming through here. So it's been really great to have them because they're able to help us. And it was already a population that they were serving. So it wasn't too hard of a transition.
Riley, thank you so much. I'm going to ask for you to answer the last question in the chat so we can move on from Shannon just about training for your staff. And Shannon always says I always pick on her and make her unmute, so I'm not going to do that today, Shannon. But Riley, as you can see, everybody is so grateful for your presentation. Hopefully you can continue to come back and we can continue to build relationships, and just thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, so what was the question one more time?
Well, if you can actually just answer it in the chat, it's going to be about training since we're going to move on to Lucy right now. But thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, folks, we know that there's only about 3 more minutes left. And so Lucy and I, as coworkers, and me being one of Lucy's biggest fans, made a huge audible. Super excited. Lucy is going to be coming back to talk about the PASS program. Mutual aid is such a critical part of the work that we're doing. And Lucy has really built a system, or is now running a system that really helps amplify that support. But 2 things, Lucy, one, is going to come back next week and co-host the entire call with me, which I'm so excited about. 2, Lucy also wears a ton of hats, one of which is also to support with supported self-rehoming. So Lucy is going to share a quick resource today to wrap up our call about what they're doing in supported self-rehoming, and then we will have her back for her entire presentation. So over to you, Lucy.
All right. Hey, all. I'm Lucy Fernandez. I am the working group lead for supported self-rehoming. And as of last March, I became the PASS program coordinator at Austin Pets Alive. PASS stands for Positive Alternatives to Shelter Surrender. So it's a lot of intake deferment strategies, just kind of like pulling, solutions out of the air to try to keep animals out of the shelter, and, in best case scenario, to keep them with their owners. And we cover for the entire state of Texas, which is a pretty big state. And so there's a lot of problems, but that just makes for, greater possibilities for problem solving. So my boss is actually Patty Alexander. She's been in the game for a dozen years or so, and she came up with the PASS program, out of like putting up a table outside of the city shelter and handing out food and resources and things for people. So we've come a long way. But yeah, so one of the biggest components with the PASS program is with supported self-rehoming. So kind of natural fit to kind of get into the Haas working group for that. And I have an amazing team of volunteer people in there that run different parts, home to home, getyourpet.com and rehome.adopthepet.com. So we came up with a little at a glance. I think this is the most updated version. Don't quote me on it, but whatever, just we'll it's all about building it and then flying it out and then seeing, if we need to make revisions and use some whiteout, if anybody else still uses whiteout. So yeah, so this is the at a glance, sort of the 3 tools that we use. Most primarily, a lot of shelters use it. And so yeah, Get Your Pet, Home to Home, and rehome.adopthepet.com. These 3 tools are already sort of built. Some of the Rehome and Get Your Pet don't really require any kind of staffing or whatever. It's just something that you would promote. We just kind of believe that if the pet is healthy and happy in a home, and unfortunately, if you find that keeping the pet with the owner isn't a viable option, then keep the animal out of the shelter and get them from one couch to another. So those services are really great for that. Home to home does require staff involvement or volunteer shelter involvement where you would help with building profiles and things. And these are just like a quick at a glance of the requirements from each program. If your shelter or your community or your organization are not using one of these, you're at a loss. It could be helping provide keeping some of those animals out of the shelter. if you go ahead and take a look at that and you say, hey, we're interested in using that, or we're using that, but maybe it's not taking off properly or what have you, there is a little form at the very bottom of that. Go ahead and fill that out, and it goes to me. And then I go ahead and I said, and then I do some R&D on your organization, and then we book a time for a consultation, and we do like a whole one-on-one on like how to make it better, how to, help, get that, that plane off the ground. Yeah, and then, how to track those things, how to, promote those things in your community, how to help promote that, that initiative in your community, so that it's not just, everybody's afraid of the Craigslist bait dog sort of fear mongering thing. And we want to keep those, how to get those stigmas out of the way, and how to communicate those things. So we've done a really good job of it here in Austin. And so everybody should be doing it all over, wherever possible. So, and we have job descriptions for volunteers if you need, or, like all of the tools that you would need to kind of get it off the ground. And so thank you, Eliza. Eliza's the one who's been helping finagle and being patient with, hey, what about this? Hey, you're missing that.
Perfect. Thank you.
She just so
Lucy, thank you so much for keeping the pivoting going into 2022 and coming back to do your entire presentation. But I'm going to toss it over. I know it's the top of the hour, over to Mary Smith.
All right, you guys, I want to thank you all for a much better way of ending the month of January than it was starting the month of January. So we definitely are on a hopeful trajectory. So happy New Year, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week.
Bye.